welcome to episode one, to episode 48 of Out of State DMing. I'm your host, Lux Blackheart, and my co-host for today is Brecken. Today we are
Hi,
going
how you doing?
we are going to finish going over cleric spells. This last we did talk about level 2 spells. My brain just farted for a moment. I don't think we actually
Yeah,
finished the second level spells. Does I don't remember us
I
covering
think
some of them.
we got through a good chunk of them, if not.
Yeah, because we did Death Kneel, Delay Poison, Desecrate, Eagle Splendor, Enthrall, Fine Traps, which actually Fine Traps is a rogue. We covered Gentle Repose. Yeah, I think we stopped at Gentle Repose because we went off topic hard.
That's where we got derailed, was gentle repose.
Because why not? Uh, so going up from that is Hold Person, which is a paralyzing effect. Make Whole, which is the actual spell you want to use for fixing things, because Mending only heals HP in minor things, while Make Whole actually goes, is that a broken wheel to your wagon? Well, since it's all right there, make hole on the wheel. The wheel's now put back together.
Is that an arm that's in pieces? Make whole.
Well, it only works on objects, so if you're a construct, then yes, it can put your arm back together. If you're a person, nope, you need other healing spells for that. Uh, Owl's Wisdom, which increases your wisdom for a while. Remove Paralysis. That's generally a good one, because you can remove one or more creatures from paralysis or slow effects. Resist Energy, which when you cast it, you pick an energy type and you get a resistance to that energy type for a wee bit. Lesser Restoration, which can get rid of magical penalties or repair die 4 worth of ability damage. So if you're sitting there going, well, why doesn't heal restore the strength damage I just did? It's because you need restoration. So at minimum, lesser restoration. Shatter, which affects sonic creatures and crystalline objects, because it's meant to affect those. Shield Other, which is the I cast it on you, and now whenever you take damage, I immediately take half of it. Silence, which is a 15-foot radius effect of no noise. So you can really stop people from casting spells, because spells that require a verbal component, if they're in an area that's silent, they can't cast spells because it will auto fail. So that's a real fun way to stop the wizard or sorcerer from casting fireball. Soundburst, which does sonic damage with a chance to stun targets. Spiritual Weapon, which pretty much a magical weapon appears and attacks on its own, and the weapon type depends on who your god is. So if your god's favorite weapon is a longsword, it's a longsword. If it's a mace, it's a mace. Status, which is probably one of the best spells ever, is you cast it on an individual and you know what conditions they have. It is the loop around on the fact that technically you can't know how much hit points another player has, or you don't automatically know if they're diseased or poisoned or anything like that.
In short, it's metagaming without metagaming.
Yeah, pretty much. It's literally, let me stack your stat block here. Oh, you have this much hit points, you're diseased, and here's the disease you have. You also have these other conflictions here. Oh, you have these debuffs on you because there's this active spell over here. Yay! It also tells you the pretty much what direction the person is that you have status on and roughly how far away they are. So you literally have a GPS tracker on them for the entire duration of the spell. So the ultimate, you can't hide from me because I just slapped you with status. Have fun. Summon monster, which whatever runner of that experiences the ability to summon monsters. Undetectable alignment. When you cast it, your alignment is concealed for 24 hours, which is the ultimate. I don't want you to know I'm evil, so I'm going to cast undetectable alignment. And unless the paladin's metagaming, they're all when they cast detect evil, all it's going to do is, oh, you're not evil. That's all it's going to do. Then there's Zone of Truth, which subjects within the range cannot lie. It is a will saving throw to resist it, but it's pretty much in a nutshell a lie detector test on steroids because they just cannot lie. They have to tell the truth. And that sums it up for the second level spells. So there's plenty of good ones, plenty of buff spells there that can be self or other.
Because if
And
you want to
so
piss off your resident warlock or wizard, cast silence on them and watch what happens.
watch their veins in their head just pulsate a bit. It's like, if you really want to piss them off, take the Metamatch Fate Silence spell, which means you can just run in there, cast your spells, because, well, you now have them silenced, so you don't need the verbal component. So you can just nana boo boo them all day long. Uh, Third level spells, which starts off strong with Animate Dead. It's pretty much the ability
one
to
of my
create skeletons and zombies.
one of my favorite spells to troll the DMs with.
There's nothing that says for you, like, I'm just gonna make myself a army of undead and I don't care about the control limit because I'm just gonna create a lot, just let them wreak havoc on their own because they're gonna be indifferent towards me unless I do something to make trigger them. So that's gonna be fun. One of the best debuff spells, Bestow Curse. Now, the confusion with this spell is you don't cast it and you pick some random curse and it hits them with it. No, it's extremely precise to where one of several things hits on them. They take either a -6 to 1 ability score, which can brutally mess everything up because that drops their bonus by at least 3. And if it's their hit points, that's at least 3 hit points. Well, it's hit points. If it's a con, that's at least 3 hit points per level they're losing. So it's a really easy way to kill someone. Or they take a -4, a minus on attack rolls or saving throw, a minus on attack rolls, saving throws, and checks, or they have a 50% chance of losing each action. So in a huge uproar of, I'm either going after you through your stats, or these die rolls over here, or you just don't get to do stuff 50% of the time. So it's still highly effective. It just doesn't work the way people want it to work. Because again, they want to start. I have bestow curse, so I'm going to look up what curses there are. It's like, read the spell. There's blindness slash deafness, which is another spell a lot of people don't read because they think they when they prep it and then they cast it, it does both. It doesn't. Because it's either you're prepping blindness or you're prepping deafness. Because you're making the subject blind or you're making the subject deaf. Not both. One, you have to cast it twice in order for it to do both. and the subject has to have actual eyes and actual ears. So, for instance, elementals are going to go, I don't care. Because it is a will effect, undead and constructs immediately don't care. But if you run across a creature that doesn't have eyes, you can't make it blind, which is makes a spell really good against beholders. It's like, oh, you can't see me with any of your eyes. It doesn't stop the eyes from
Also good.
working, but good luck getting hit by anything because it can't see.
It'd also be pretty effective against dragons as well, I would assume.
No, dragons have blind sight. So you can gouge out their eyes, stab them in their ears, and like dump lava in their nose. They'll still be able to have the sixth sense of going, I know where you're at.
I'm here for hugs.
Yeah, it, pretty much. Uh, so you have to go out of your way to get by the senses of a dragon, but anything that doesn't have any sort of blind scent or well, blind sense or blind sight, anything that doesn't have that, you can blind indefinite, which screws up a lot of their stuff. Um, there is some creatures with their extrasensory abilities. If you manage to knock out their one of their senses, you kind of screw everything up. Like bats with their echolocation, they only get that blind sight if they can hear. So if you deafen it, the echolocation does not trigger anymore because it cannot hear. The next spell, and this spell will get your characters in anyone's character in trouble because it's not good, and it's contagions. It is literally, hey, saving throw. First, pick a disease. That's what you're saving throw against. So you can literally start a plague. Next is continuous flame. You cast it, and it creates a permanent heatless torch, which means you can pull out your torch, cast it on that. You're always going to have a light source, and when you don't want it shining, you can put a sack over it. It's not going to burn the sack. It's not going to erupt sack, because it doesn't produce heat, and it technically doesn't produce smoke. So you can't cook with it or anything like that, but you can create a permanent light source. The next spell is probably one of my favorite spells. It's Create Food and Water. For every level you possess, you can feed 3 medium-sized creatures or 1 large-sized creature. And yes, this scream is lit. They keep hit me up to chop it up about new game releases sometime. I think that might be a bot. Well, if it's not, then
Yeah, it's a bot.
yeah. If it's not, we're gonna find out here soon, or it's gonna get banned. Whatever happens first. Uh, no, but I said create food and water. It's just great because the party doesn't need to go out to eat when they're in a town. They don't have to buy supplies because you just create it, and voila, everyone gets food, and you can have it be everyone's like preferred dishes too. It doesn't have to be just this bland food. It's just voila, bunch of food. Uh, Cure serious wounds, which just like other cures, it heals hit points. And except this one's 3 die 8. There is the inflict serious wounds that you roll the same thing, but it's damage. It's negative energy instead of positive energy. Daylight, which is a 60-foot radius bright light. Despite the name, it doesn't actually produce actual sunlight, which means vampires don't get killed by it. Stuff with sunlight vulnerabilities don't get harmed by it. Things that have light sensitivity, which mainly affects their sight, not necessarily like, oh my god, I'm gonna die because of this. Light sensibility or vulnerability just either blinds them temporarily and or gives them penalties. It doesn't kill them. Then there's deeper darkness, which is uh, same as darkness, but affects a greater radius. So instead of like a 20-foot radius, it's a 60-foot radius. So it's a much bigger thing. And a thing to note that when it comes to light and darkness spells, those spells immediately can counter and dispel their counterparts of lower level. So, for instance, darkness gets countered by daylight because darkness is a lower level, but daylight does not counter deeper darkness, and deeper darkness does not counter daylight, while deeper darkness does counter the spell light. So it's one of those it's like whoever's higher. So if you upcast it with a heightened spell to technically be higher level, then you can kind of go, haha, screw your daylight or screw your deeper darkness. Dispel magic, which is always a good one. Just like when we went over, well, when bards have it, as I believe bards have it. I should remember that. This wasn't that long ago that we went over bard stuff. But it does cancel spells and magical effects. Glyph of Warding, which you make an inscription and it harms those who pass it. So it's a good trap spell. Helping Hand, which is a ghostly hand that leads subjects to you. So if someone else is lost and they need to find their way to you, you can use Helping Hands to guide them to you. Invisibility Purge. This is it's a radius effect that's centered on you, and the radius goes up with each level by a factor of 5 feet. And it pretty much dispels all invisibilities. So if there's a bunch of visible things around you, you go invisibility purge. Now everyone can see them. Because you don't need see invisibility when you go, I think there's invisible things. Purge the area. While there or not, this either its way, you're casting the spell to do it. Just one makes it so everyone can see it instead of just you. Locate object, which you have to remember when you cast this spell, you have to be pretty precise on the object, because the more vague the object is, the less likely the spell's going to work. So the more information you have on the particular object, this if you say something like locate object gold coin, it's going to tell you where the closest gold coin is, which is the coins in your pocket. But if you're like, hey, locate object this extremely rare gold coin that's marked from a kingdom that no longer exists, it's going to narrow it down to a coin that matches that description instead of just a generic coin you have. Same thing with weapons or armor, because if you say locate object full plate, it's going to lead you to the closest suit of full plate that's an effective range of the spell, not that really epic full plate that's actually made out of dragon hide and infused with demonic energies. It's not going to go for that one. It's going to go for a close one. Net? What was that? Oh, for a moment I thought you were going to say something.
Oh no, no, I had a funny thought.
What was the funny thought? Funny thought.
View your sexual organ with that spell, so every time you search for something, you get an erection. In the right direction. How do you know I'm hard?
And it wants to point in that direction. Why are you leading with your pelvic? Because it's what the spell demands. Dear God, play with
The
real
spell
dick.
knows.
How do you know it's in that direction? Because every time I face that direction, my nipples get hard.
Yeah, your nipples.
This got real PG real quick. I swear, we're not those type of players.
Speak for yourself. I am.
The next spell is Magic Circle against Chaos slash Evil slash Good slash Law. And just like I said in the last episode, when you prep the spell, you have to choose one of those alignments. And this Magic Circle again works the same as Protection against that element, but it's a 10-foot radius, not and not just you. So any of your friends that are within inside that radius get that bonus when they're being targeted by attacks or spells. So it's a nice. If you want that extra like plus 4 to your AC against this evil monster, you have to stay within 10 feet of me. It's also good because like if people are going to sit there and go, you must heal us, you have to stay where I can touch you. Why aren't you healing me? Because there's stuff between me and you and I can't touch you. This is an incentive to go, if you stay within 10 feet of me, you get a buff of bonus AC, but you have to be within 10 feet of me. It's also a long lived spell because it lasts like 10 minutes per caster level, so it can easily last a very long time. Like by
What I
the
heard was it's the reason for having a leash on your player on your party.
pretty much, and because it can last like up to an hour, like at level 6, it's an hour. You can cast it like before you go into like this enemy castle, as long as like okay, we got an hour before the spell wears off. Stay close. Unlike other buff spells that last like a minute per caster level or a round per caster level, this has a very long shelf life. Then there's Magic Vestment, which is armor or shield gets a +1 enhancement bonus per 4 levels you possess. Well, for caster level. So you can literally go, I don't have magical armor. Cast it. Now I technically have magical armor. Or, hey, the fighter needs a better magical shield, so I'm going to cast this, and this bonus is going to supersede the one he did have. So now he actually has a better bonus to not getting smacked. So it's a great way to keep yourself alive because your AC goes up. Uh, Here's a spell that not that many people use because they just don't overthink about it. Meld into stone. You and your gear merge with stone. So if there's a stone wall you need to get through, well, you don't need to climb it or break it down. Melt into stone. You can just pass through it. If you want to get through a trapped area, you can go, well, the spell's going to last this long, so I'm just going to go into the wall, travel down there till I'm pretty sure I'm past the trap, and then pop out over there. So it has a lot of uses, but not that. It's one of those spells that not a lot of people want to use it because they think they're going to turn into stone. It's like, no, it lets you go into stone, not turn into stone. And the stone object doesn't move; you move through it. The best way to put it is you're pretty much swimming through stone now. That's the best way to put it. Obscuring mist. Well, not sorry, mist. I don't know why my brain went mist. I saw obscuring and my brain just immediately jumped there. Obscure object, which what it does is it makes mass objects against scrying. So if someone's trying to use a certain item to pinpoint your location through scrying, this counters it because that item cannot be scried for that period of time. Prayer is a nice uh, buff slash debuff because of what it does is it gives a bonus on most rolls to you and your allies while also giving the enemy who fail the will saving throw the same penalties. Which is usually like, oh hey, everyone gets a +1 on attack roll, skill checks, and I want to say damage rolls, and like saves, and the enemy gets those minuses, so they hit less often, hit slightly not well, slightly not as hard, have a higher chance of failing skills because of -1, and don't have as high a chance of passing saving throws because they also get a minus to it. So it's a very good, I'm going to buff my friends while hurting my enemies. Protection from energy. Uh, gives you pretty much a resistance against a damage type. But it's like 12.
Protection from energy. It's just a vibe check.
Pretty much, yeah, from energy. So you pick the element and you get it sort of like 12 points of damage a turn. Well, not a turn, but each time you get hit with it. Up to 12 times your caster level. So you have a set limit between when it cuts off. So it can help you survive a long while against certain things, but it has a built-in diffuser on it. The counter to blindness deafness is remove blindness deafness. So if something has normal or magical blindness or deafness, this removes it. It does not restore lost eyes. So if your eye is not there, it doesn't restore your eye. Your eye still needs to be there. It just fixes whatever's wrong with it. Remove curse, which can be hit on a object or a person, but it does what just like the namesake, removes curse. Remove disease, which just like its namesake, it cures all diseases a subject has. Here's a damage spell, Searing Light. It's a ray attack that does, for every 2 levels you possess, you do a die, well, for every 2 levels you possess in your caster level, you have an additional die of damage. So, like, a level 4 cleric casting this does 2 die 8, while like, a level 20 does 10 die 8. It does more damage against undead, because I think it switches from like die 8s to die 10s for undead. So it's like, here's a bunch of damage. Oh, you're undead. Here's even more damage. Speak with Dead, which gives lets you ask one question per 2 caster levels you possess. This spell I find hilarious because a lot of players either ask stupid questions or they ask the just random questions. There's the funny example of how it can run is if you ever seen the movie the latest Dungeons and Dragons movie, Honor Amongst Thieves. When they go to the graveyard and he has the stone that lets him ask the undead, will ask a corpse, not necessarily undead, but a corpse, the 3 questions, and they're all asking random questions, and they have to go through the entire cemetery. That is pretty much what can happen with this spell. The only actual limitation is the person who casts the spell is the only person who can ask the question. Uh, hey, another first time chatter. Hey, hope you are Having a great day. So far, it's not too bad. Uh, I ain't dead, and I'm live. Boom. But like I said, it's the person casting it is the only one that actually gets to ask the questions. And if you say certain things like, "Yeah, that ain't a question," it's like you actually have to ask the question. If someone else asks the question, you can't go, "Yeah, that one." You actually have to ask it yourself. And if you ask other questions like, "Can you answer their question?" It's like, "Yes." There's one answer. So don't be too nonsense. Don't be too stupid with your questions. Next one is stone shape. You can sculpt stone into pretty much any shape. The amount of stone is like I think like a square foot a caster level, but you can touch a boulder and make if you're high enough caster level, might be an entire boulder or just a huge portion of it. You can make it look like a idol of your god or a big arrow pointing in a direction. You could create a door in a stone wall when it appears as archway because you can sculpt that into it. Uh, or you can have parts of a ceiling fall down on a bad guy on the shape of a big middle finger because the DM thought they were being clever and thought the bad guy could get away. Just yes, I've done that. They do get access to third level summon monster. Water breathing is a third level cleric spell. Which, if you're those who are not familiar with it, it's pretty much you can breathe underwater. A subject or subjects can breathe underwater. The duration is 2 hours per caster level, divided between as many creatures as you touch. So if you're level 4, you get 8 hours, and you cast it on yourself and 3 others. Everyone gets 2 hours of water breathing. But if you're either A, lower level than that, or B, there's a lot more creatures you need to have water breathing put on. Well, you hope you prep it multiple times. Then there's water walking, which lets you tread on water as if it were solid. And then wind wall. It will deflect arrows, prevents arrows and bolts and a lot of thrown things automatically get caught in it. Small creatures and gases can get caught up into it. So if you're like halflings can get stuck trying to go through wind walls. Anything smaller than that's almost guaranteed to get stuck in it, and it's somewhat funny of, hey, look, they're struggling to get over to us because these tiny little fairy folk are super small and are having problems with that stupid wall. But that pretty much sums up the third level cleric spells, with some of them being probably a little bit but a bunch of them are still pretty decent, like create food and water, speak with dead, searing light, the ability to remove curses and diseases. Those are all pretty decent spells. Do you have any commentary about the spells we just went over?
You're not. I do not. Except for except for the vibe check.
Vibe check. Um, Fourth level.
Hey, we absolutely appreciate the good feedback. Lux is an absolutely amazing person.
I try. I try. I'm not perfect, I will admit that, but I try. Any and all commentary is welcome, especially if it helps me get better. Uh, unless it's mean. Don't be mean. um, but but thank you, first time chatter. Yay. I don't know why, but I like seeing first time chatters, especially when it's not a bot. Now we can start on fourth level spells. There's not as many as like first level or second level or third level. So we're going to be able to go through this segment a little bit quicker because there's not so many. But they still have some very good ones in here. For instance, Airwalk. You can tread on air as if it was solid up to a 45-degree angle. So it's not like you can fly straight up, but you can go at that angle as if you're going up a hill. Just watch how much time the spell has left, because if you're too high up and the spell wears off, you're falling relatively quick, and it ain't gonna feel good. Control water, which while it's active, you can temporarily like raise or lower bodies of water. It can have limited effect on other liquids, but not necessarily as much as it would like water. So if it's a pool of like acid, it can have some effect on the acid, just not as good as you would if it was actual water. But if you're trying to go through a flooded area, you can temporarily have the water in that area lowered so you can walk through it and not have to swim. There is the cure critical and inflict critical wounds, which is 4 die 8, because fourth level healing and inflict are probably some of the best ones, because you have to wait till you get higher level to do any of the real serious ones. But 4 die 8 plus level is still really good. Death Ward. Dun dun dun. Grants immunity to death spells and negative energy effects. Which means if you take it by the wordings of just right there without looking up the spell itself, Finger Death doesn't work on you anymore because that's a death effect, and inflict spells no longer work on you because that's a negative energy effect. So like there's a bundle of things you just ignore while the spell is active. Dimensional Anchor bars extra dimensional movement, which pretty much means no plane shifting of any kind to that location or from that location. Because it's kind of like trying to find signal on your phone when there is no cell service there. You can't you can't receive or make phone calls because there's no service. That's the best way to actually describe dimensional anchor. So if you want to really stop someone from retreating, you can slam that on them. Because there are some creatures that like to do that. Like not too long ago, one of my players in my Thursday campaign got killed by a phase spider because it phased in, grabbed them, poisoned them, and then phased out with them. If the party would have had access to Dimensional Anchor and got it off fast enough, they wouldn't have been able to get away. How long? How long has it been since you started streaming? And which games do you like to play? As I press all the wrong buttons. I do. I dabble in multiple games. Bacon here can contest to that because whenever I'm streaming, I'm usually playing games with him.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
yeah. Uh, but I have been on and off streaming for a while. I've just been more consistent in the past year. I've actually been consistent in the past year, because before that it was consistently inconsistent. But yeah, I dabble in multiple games. Because there's a very good chance that when I'm done doing this and what I have to do after this, I may be, depending on how tonight goes, playing one of the games I usually stream. So there's a chance you might see some of those games later tonight. All depends on how tonight goes.
If you stick around.
Stick around to find out more. God, that makes me sound like a sellout. Okay, back on track. This we did Dimensional Acre. Discern lies. Pretty much, it reveals deliberate falsehoods, kind of like Zone of Truth, but instead of it being like an AOE effect, it's a "Hey, you there? I know you're lying." A key thing to also remember with any of the spells that counters lies, if an entity believes what it's saying is true because it doesn't know better, it's not going to reveal it as a lie. Because if I give you a directions to a location, unless you go to that location, you're not going to know if it's right or wrong. But if you tell someone else those directions, because all you know is that information there, it's true because you don't know any better. Uh, God, it's not really easy to explain that without giving actual circumstances to support it. It's my brain's coming to a fart. Uh, but yeah, because if the person you're trying to use it against doesn't know it's a lie, then it's not going to actually properly ring as a lie because they don't know it's a lie. Next, dismissal. I just completely misread that word. It forces a creature to return to its native plane. Which, in layman's terms, when you're fighting outsiders, the entire reason why they are called outsiders is because they're not from the material plane. I want to. People getting chatty, yay! Um, so if there's like a demon or an angel or just something not from the material plane, you can dismiss it. If it fails to save and throw, it goes back to its own plane. Like fire elementals aren't from this plane, so you can dismiss it back to its the fire domain. So it's like pretty easy to just go like no, especially if you're fighting someone that's summoning stuff in, because it's being summoned in, it's not from this plane, therefore you can dismiss it. Then there's divination, which provides useful advice for a specific proposed action. Just like with augury, where it was like is this action good or bad? This goes kind of in depth about it a little bit more because you actually get some advice about a proposed action. But just with augury, it's not a yes or no thing on like you ask a question and you get a yes or no. It's advice on this action, advice on that action, advice on this. Because again, proposed actions. Next is probably one of my favorite self buff spells because it's a self only spell, Divine Power. Uh, your attack bonus equals your caster level. You get a bonus to strength and a bonus to hit points. So you have a little bit more umph to your hits. Because, again, higher attack bonus and higher strength means you're hitting more often and you're doing more damage. But you also have a little bit more extra hit points to keep you alive. Which it does stack with Divine Favor because they're not 100% the same bonus stuff. The next spell is probably one of the most broken spells you can ever run across in D&D, Freedom of Movement. Layman's terms, subject can move normally despite impairments. actually, I do artwork for gamers and streamers like as much as I would like to indulge you, um, I cannot afford any sort of artwork to any degree or animations or anything like that. So as much as I would love to do that, I cannot afford it. So I'm going to have to respectfully decline your offer. And just like my moderator there, uh, yeah, yeah, respect certain boundaries, and like I said, please don't advertise stuff like that on here. I love having moderators.
I'm gonna end up trolling this one until I ban them.
um, yeah, it's like as much as I want to help people who are trying to survive in this economy, I can't afford it, so I'm just gonna have to say no because I don't want to give them false hope. Because like I can't.
Not only that, but if you really want the work done, if you really want it work like that done, just talk to Tora.
Yeah, it's like
She does. She does this. She does this kind of work.
yeah, it's like I have options, but a big part of it is about making sure I get the finances to compensate those things. Especially if it's
Or
going
if
to
you asked Tora, she would probably do it for free.
there is that too. Uh, but I kind of don't want to use and abuse that privilege. Because I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and if I do ask her for to do anything, uh, I'm not gonna be a dick about it. Because again, I'd rather have
Understandable.
good work that comes my way and not rushed. You were a dick, so I didn't do it perfectly for you. Work. But back to the spells. Dun dun dun. Giant vermin. um, I saw that. Uh, uh,
You saw nothing.
yeah. What giant vermin does is you cast it on a normal sized bug. Keywords normal size. If it is already a giant and or monstrous version of the bug, this spell does not work. Even if you come across a tiny monstrous centipede, because it has monstrous in its name, this spell does not work. You have to go find a normal centipede or a
Or even
normal.
on like giant centipede.
No, if it's giant or monstrous, it does not work. So, like if you run into a giant bullet ant, you can't giant vermin it. It's already giant. If it's a
So if
monster,
its name was just centipede, but it's like 400 feet tall, we could still use it on that, right?
no, because if a centipede
You said
is
if it has giant or monstrous in its name, you didn't give specifications on size.
yeah, well, see that's the thing. Monstrous centipedes are monstrous because they are abnormally large for what it is. So it has to. It
Now you're
literally has to be
changing
a
things.
normal. It normal. It so like, in layman's terms, if it's not a normal centipede, it won't work because anything above normal sizes or like just a normal centipede, no. Like for instance, the stock beetles that sometimes people can run across in my world. Giant vermin won't work on them because they're not normal bugs. They're already big giant beetles. the woolcutter bees that are as big as a horse. You can't make it any bigger with giant vermin because it already is categorized as a giant bug. Uh, there's epic bugs like the spider of devastation, which is bigger than a Tarask, and it eats dragons for meals. You can't make it any bigger because it already classifies as a monstrous spider. So it's literally normal things, and it's not even a permanent effect. It just for X amount of time that thing there's boom. It also has to be a living bug, so you can't kill a centipede and carry around its little body with you till you want to use the spell. No, you have to take it, keep it alive, then use it for whatever you're going to use it for. And if you want to use the same centipede, you have to make sure it doesn't die during the process. So when it goes back to normal size, you can recapture it and just go have more shenanigans with your new pet centipede that occasionally is big enough to eat a man.
So we couldn't use like we couldn't like resurrect it to do that to like to we couldn't like resurrect it and use the spell. Like we couldn't carry around a corpse
Well,
of a bug and then just
that
resurrect it
depends
and then do
on
it.
the resurrection spell you're casting on it, because you have to remember, uh,
Right. There's variants for true resurrection and not.
because of what normal centipedes categorize as, each time you do the weakest of the resurrection spells, it's permanently losing 2 points of constitution. So it's going to get to a point where the resurrection just isn't going to work because it doesn't have the con to support it. So you would have to use the expensive resurrections like resurrection or true resurrection to circumvent any of all of those negative things, just to constantly bring back this poor centipede that's now going to have to die again in order for you to carry it with you. Not to mention the fact that depending on how long you go with resurrecting it, a lot of the lower resurrections immediately won't work after X amount of time. And it's going to then force you to go for the more expensive ones. Because like resurrection is like categorize can be cast like in within years of the person dying, while true resurrection goes it doesn't matter, while the other ones are categorized in days. So it's something to go.
Okay.
Yeah, it also can count as cruel and unusual punishment because it may not be a sentient creature. You're still bringing something back to life when it dies, carting its carcass around just to resurrect it to die again. That counts as animal abuse because that's cruel and unusual. If it's not okay to do to your party members, it's not okay to do to wildlife. Even though it can be funny to do it to other people.
Man.
If you want a giant bug, go through the proper means of getting a giant bug. The easiest way requires being a druid, going the child of the winter, and just get to the level where you can get the vermin companion. And based on your level, it depends on what one you can get. Like, for instance, if you're high enough level, you can get a hell wasp. For those unsure what a hell wasp is, it's like a 10-foot long wasp that's strong enough to actually have a rider on it. And it's like a yellow jacket on steroids because it's like wherever it's at, it's the dominant thing, and a child of winter can end up getting one as a animal companion. It's going to like, constantly have thoughts of murdering everyone around it, but you can still get it. The next spell is probably one you might like. Imbue with spell ability. What it does is you cast it and you transfer a spell or spells to a subject so that way that subject can use the spell. When we get into the grit of that spell in later episodes, the parameters will be explained, but it's pretty much, oh, I want you to be able to heal yourself when the time comes, so I'm going to transfer this healing spell to you so you can use it. You're still counted as technically casting the spell, but it's kind of like on this delay of when that person uses it. Greater magic weapon. Similar to normal magic weapon, but instead of it just being a +1, you get a +1 for every 4 levels you possess to a maximum of +5. Meaning once you reach level 20, you can pick up any weapon, cast it on it, and it becomes a +5 magical weapon. Which also means you don't have to money dump into a good weapon. You can just cast that and have a good weapon. May not have fancy effects on it, but a +5 weapon is a, that's like right there by itself 100 grand you don't have to spend because you can just pick up a weapon and voila. Next one, neutralize poison, which is probably one of the best spells because anytime a subject has poison on them, you pretty much go, oh, nope, don't worry about poison anymore. I'm getting rid of that from you. Next is lesser planar ally, which lets you do the process of summoning a 6 hit die or lower extraplanar creature to do services for you. So you can literally have a little angel on your side, on your shoulder, helping you stuff. Or if you're more into evil, you can literally contract an imp to do things with you, or something a little bit stronger than an imp. Next spell is probably one of my favorite damage spells. Is poison. You touch a target. If they fail the saving throw, they take a die 10 con damage. In 1 minute, they take it again. So it can be a literal poke. Yeah, I'm killing you with this. And it's technically not necessarily an evil spell. It's how you use it that makes it evil, not necessarily the spell itself. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of like it. Next, we have Repel Vermin, which insects, spiders, and other vermin stay about 10 feet away from you. So it's a really great way of, I don't want to be eaten alive by mosquitoes or want that giant wasp over there fornicating with my skull with its stinger. So stay away.
Fortification through the skull.
Yeah. Restoration is a fabulous spell, just like Lesser Restoration, but better, because it can restore lost levels and ability damages. So if you're been hit by multiple things, this is a spell that helps get rid of all that stat stuff. So that's great. Sending is probably one of the better message spells because the only real thing is it's the person within range of this spell. Yes, an instantaneously delivered message because it delivers a short message anywhere instantly. So as long as we double check the actual if it has an actual range or not, that would be the only limitation on it. But it's literally a I want you to know this information, have this information. Here's a spell that you might actually like. Subject is immune to one spell per 4 levels.
Ooh.
Meaning you pick a
Oh, do I get to
spell.
choose?
Yeah, for every 4 levels you possess, you pick a spell. I believe there is limitations on what level the spell can be, but you can pretty much go, I have spell immunity, fireballs, and magic missiles. As you look at the enemy caster who is like, I have those spells, yeah, oh, you're auto immune to my fireballs now. It is a great way of, I need to run in here and heal people, but I have an ass of a sorcerer who only wants to fireball things, so I'm going to take spell immunity on myself, fireball, so I can run in there and not be subject to his fireball. They do get summon monster level 4. And the very last spell, and it'll be the last spell we cover for this episode, the certain things kind of distracted us a little bit, is probably the best communication spell ever, tongues. Which pretty much, for the duration of the spell, you can read any language, you can understand any spoken language, and when you speak, everything that can hear you automatically understands you. So it is the ultimate, I don't need a million and one languages, I'll just cast tongues, and everyone understands me, and I understand everyone. So it is a very useful spell. Kind of like how when the party in when I was doing the Friday campaign, when the party went to a whole other region where no one could speak the language, one party member already had the smart idea to take a certain spell, and he cast it, and he was communicating on everyone's behalf, which is the only real thing that made people like him, because he went out of his way to prep it more, to make sure he could cast it as many times as he can, to make sure the party never had communication problems. Because tongues, because battle mages do get access to the spell tongues.
He was a battle mage.
I thought he was a bard. Oh, lies. No, but
What did I do?
I swear I saw through it. He didn't sing at all. Um, like anyone actually cared. But that being said, uh, we have reached the end of the episode, and next week we will be starting to go to 5th levels. So I'd like to, for everyone watching and watch this, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and we will see you next week for more cleric spells.